We're going to demonstrate thumb abduction manual muscle testing. So you would have the patient put their arm out in supine, wrist in neutral. You would demonstrate to the patient the function you're about to do. You'll want to lift your thumb up to as high as you can, straight out. Now you want to stabilize their hand by holding their metacarpals, and then take your other hand and position it to the distal metacarpal. Now then you want to ask the patient to resist any force going down. Hold the position. Push for 5 seconds and release. And now I'm going to try and isolate the adductor pollicis brevis. The only difference is that you want to hold the proximal phalanx, the lateral aspect of the proximal phalanx, and then go through the same exercise. So now can you please hold against my resistance? You hold again for another 5 seconds.
Today we're going to be doing manual muscle test for trunk flexion. First thing you're going to have the patient do is put their arms behind their head. Next you're going to have them lift their shoulders and neck off the table while keep looking towards the ceiling, making sure that their lower inferior angle of their scapula clears the table, and then come back down. If the patient is unable to get their scapula all the way off the table, you would have them bring their arms across their chest and do the same motion. So I'm going to have you lift your shoulders up off the table and making sure that their scapula comes all the way off and come back down. If the patient is unable to complete this, you would have them hold their arms out in front of their bodies, extended like so, and do the same motion, bringing their shoulders and neck up off the table until their scapulas are off the table, and hold. Good, come back down. And that would be a grade 3 manual muscle test.
Manual muscle test for hip abduction. We want to have the patient lying sideline. We want to have their knees bent for stabilization. You want their ankles and their foot to be in neutral position to make sure they're not in any external or internal rotation. You want to have your hand at the greater trochanter and stabilize the glute medius, but first you want to see them go through the range of motion on their own. So Meredith, can I have you lift your leg off the table as far up as you can go? Very nice. All right, now go all the way down. All right, now can I have you do that same motion? And now hold that position and resist any force that I'm pulling down. Now you want to hold that, you want to push down for 5 seconds. All right, release. Now the only difference between this and a grade 4 manual muscle test is that with the grade 4 you want to move proximally to the knee and push down at a closer distance. And that's the manual muscle test for hip abduction.
Okay, today we are going to do the range of motion for external rotation, also known as lateral rotation. So I am going to have the patient put their elbow here on a towel or something like that. You want to have the shoulder abducted 90 degrees. You want to have the elbow angle at 90 degrees. And then I'm going to have him go through the range of motion first. So can I have you externally rotate your arm like this? Okay, and then come back to neutral. Once I see that he can get through the range, I'm going to have to shift a little bit. So I'm going to support his shoulder and scapula, make sure it's not moving and compensating for the range and helping him get a little bit farther. So now, let me see you externally rotate again. Now hold that range for me. So now I will measure that angle.
The stationary arm should be perpendicular to the floor.
Arm be parallel to the floor. I might line up the axis with his olecranon. I line up the moving arm towards his ulnar styloid process along this side of the forearm, and then I will take the reading. Bill is lacking, or he's got 55 degrees of external rotation, so the normative value for this range is 90. So he is a little bit
Wrist
tight.
flexion range of motion. You want the patient to be seated with their shoulder and elbow at 90 degrees and with their hand and wrist off the table. All right, first I'm going to have the patient demonstrate the motion. So can you bend your wrist down for me as far as you can? Good. Come back up to neutral. Wonderful. All right, relax. Then you're going to palpate for the landmarks. You have to find the lunate. So you find the lunate, which is your axis of rotation. And from there, your stationary arm is going to be up the dorsal midline of the forearm. And then your moving arm is going to be down the third metatarsal. And then have the patient perform the motion. Now flex as hard as you can again for me. Now take the reading, which is he has about 70 degrees. The normative value is 80.
Doing the range of motion for MTP flexion. So what I'm going to do is there's two options. You can do it seated or you can have her lay down, but you want to make sure that you have good body mechanics. So you're going to line. First, I would actually just have her flex her toes and then relax them. So I'm going to line the stationary arm of the glenohumeral up with her metatarsal, and then I'm going to stabilize that. And then I'm going to have her flex her toe, and the axis is actually at that joint, and then the moving arm is along the toe. So flex your toe for me, and then I will move the glenohumeral with it. And so that, and then you would read the measurement. The normative range for this is 45 degrees. You can also do this one passively. So I could actually flex her toe for her, which would get her all the way to 50 degrees of flexion. So there is a big difference there. Like that.
Okay.
Is it all in shot though?
Yeah, y'all, this is good. Y'all, today we're going to be, I don't remember,
Trunk flex.